April 26th, 2022 meeting of the Pequannock Township Council. Ms. Marsh?
In accordance with the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper, and distributed to all persons requesting notice in accordance with Township policy.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for individuals serving our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with abundance of wisdom and understanding, so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
Amen. Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Dracy?
Present.
Mr. Hurd?
Here.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Here.
Mayor Florence Lynch?
Here. All right, our first item on the agenda is presentation. Our first presentation is by the Flood Control Advisory Committee. They would like to recognize former Township Manager David Holberg. As you all know, Dave passed away October 3rd of 2020. He was a lifelong resident of Pequannock, spent 35 years dedicated to serving his community and others. And I'd like to invite the Flood Committee up to do their presentation. I believe we have Ken Hardacre here, and Nick, and Dara, and Louise.
Good evening.
And thank you to the family for being
And
here.
thank you all for coming. On behalf of the Pequannock Township Flood Advisory Committee, we are presenting to the council this evening a plaque recognizing our former township manager, David Holberg. We respectfully request that the plaque be displayed in the conference room where Dave held his emergency meetings during times of crisis as a reminder that enough thought and determination, anything is possible. His knowledge of our river and the flow of water through our valley was unprecedented and is a resource that will be truly missed. Dave was a man of his word, and he kept his promise to the residents of the flood community and worked with council to institute meaningful changes in how the township addressed flooding issues. While there were many discussions and debates along the way as to the path to take, we were successful because Dave was willing to not just listen, but to take everyone's concerns and positions seriously. The common ground with him was always what was best for Pequannock. He cared about his community. As our township manager and volunteer firefighter, he was clearly moved, as was council at the time, by the devastation caused by a series of floods, one after another, prior to and including Irene in 2010 and 2011. He knew that flooding could never completely be stopped, but there were actions that could be taken to mitigate the severity and impact on Pequannock. Every effort needed to be taken to change the status quo. In advance of Irene, he achieved what was thought to be impossible and convinced the governor to order reservoirs north to be required to reduce water storage levels prior to the storm, in a hope that it would reduce the inundation that at that point appeared inevitable. Any water he was influential in having released in advance was all the less that ended up in our community. Working with the Flood Committee, he assisted and directed conducting meetings to address recovery and then solutions for the future. He worked to create more efficient ways to disseminate information to residents in the flood-prone homes before, during, and after flooding. He expanded the information available on the township website, authorized regular information mailers to flood-prone homes, set up the reverse 911, set up the AM radio station to broadcast flood updates, authorized the flood app, and also utilized social media. These enabled critical information to get to flood residents, giving them more time to prepare and to react. He utilized Green Acre and Blue Acre funds to conduct a series of property acquisitions along the Pequannock River and other properties in the floodway, restoring the area to its natural state and allowing nature to assist in mitigating flooding. Upon the committee's recommendation, he then secured the support of council to provide the necessary resources to apply for FEMA grants to elevate homes, lifting them out of harm's way instead of eliminating them. To date, 75 homes are either elevated or in the process of being elevated using FEMA grants, and at the same time creating jobs for local construction workers. He successfully obtained permits for desnagging and cleanup of the waterway to eliminate obstructions to the flow of water through our valley. He secured approval to bring on Jennifer McCullough as a flood resilience officer to coordinate flood remediation projects and focus on every aspect of flooding in the township, including challenging the FEMA proposed maps, and making sure residents qualify for the largest flood insurance credits possible. After retiring from his position as township manager, he volunteered to be part of the Flood Advisory Committee to continue his work and was welcomed with a unanimous vote to make him the chair, who better to lead the way forward. This year, we watched as the river hit nearly 20 feet, and even at that level, we saw no significant flooding. Clearly, the course of action that he laid out, approved by council and implemented by the hardworking township employees, has made a difference. Bottom line, he was a leader that did not just kick the can down the road. That made a real difference in people's lives. He utilized his extraordinary talents to improve the lives of the people around him in the community he loved. We thank members of prior councils who worked with Mr. Holberg for their support, and the current town council and Mr. Brewer for all of their efforts to continue the work that he started.
Hi, everybody. Wow, 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Melissa, that's when we started moving in this direction, from buyouts to elevations, and I find it ironic that we started this idea where, of course, Dara, the passion and heart and soul of the Flood Committee, was like, let's do something special, a plaque for Dave. You know, that was a year ago. And the fact that we're doing it today, and today was the day that my house got raised. So it's just crazy how it all works out. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, like that show, The A-Team, where Hannibal would say, I love it when a plan comes together. You know, how often does a municipality take on a project and it exceeds even the greatest of expectations? It's been really amazing to watch it all come together, and it's all about persistence and timing and having the right people all in place to make it happen. And everybody should really take a bow for it, because it's really amazing. And to see, you know, homes in the flood zone worth so much more money, they're safer, and the fact that it's all being done in a way that is just beneficial for the municipality in so many different ways. It's just great, and we thank you guys so much. And especially without Dave, none of it would be possible, because at the end of the day, he was the guiding force. So I'd just like to show everybody, this is the plaque we did for him. And I would just like to read what it says. In memory of David Holberg, 1966-2020, the Flood Control Advisory Committee was honored to have you as a township manager. We were able to help this community in so many ways because of your guidance. You gave our flood community hope and support in times of disaster and heartache. Thank you for your service. Your actions will not be forgotten.
That's lovely.
I don't know if you want to take a picture with the plaque, but here it is.
Okay, do you guys want to do that? Do you want to do a picture? You could even have
The flood committee needs a picture with
family, the
it.
flood committee,
Yeah, absolutely.
the family.
Hello, the family.
I think you should do something with the flood committee
Okay.
and with the family.
All right,
And if
great.
council wants to
Sure.
be involved, why don't we do that?
Ryan, you should be, you did
Yeah, lots of hard work.
Come on.
You and
on,
Melissa,
Mary.
especially.
And the family is so important, because you guys, come on, guys, let's all go up as a community.
We're going to have you guys hold the plaque. got Ryan, former head of the, former chair of the committee. Melissa, our longtime liaison.
Now we just need to, oh, it doesn't have the other one. That's not family.
Get over here.
Thank you so much. Now, we have to make sure we hang this where we requested it.
In the OEM.
But thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, plus we got all that wonderful chemical art.
We need to make sure that yeah, I think they want it in the OEM room. Yeah, it's over in the corner. We use that as a, do they still use that as the OEM room, right?
Yes,
Okay.
when we need to activate. When you don't, that's good.
Girls, your father was a very special man, as you know. And your brother, you know, so. Thank you all for coming for that. Okay. All right, next on the agenda, we're going to move on to presentation number 2. You're trying to get the thing on? Okay. The second presentation is from the Environmental Commission. Is Tom Newman here? Oh, there he is. I didn't see you hiding over there. Tom Newman has been educating others in the community on the New Jersey plastic bag ban that goes into effect on May 4th. And he's going to do a condensed version for us today to help educate the community.
May I step over to the slide?
You sure can.
Mayor, can I make it so you can see?
Well, thank you to the council, and Melissa in particular, for inviting me to brief you guys on what's going to be happening.
Wow.
No sleeping.
A lot of sleeping going on.
Can you see?
Yeah, I can see quite a bit. There we go. All right. And as Melissa said, this is a presentation that's condensed. It's adapted from an hour-long presentation that I gave on April 7th at the library, and then another one I gave to the Suburban Women's Club last week in the senior house. Next slide. So what is this law? It's called the New Jersey Plastics Law. It was signed into law in November of 2020, so almost 18 months ago now. In the whereas section of the law, which is, as you know, that's the rationale behind it, the legislature recognizes that plastics pollution is widespread and is rapidly increasing with the rapid increase in the production of plastics. With only 1/3, well, as much as 1/3 of those plastics produced being the form of single-use plastics, so they're used once and then thrown away. And it could be even more because about 47% of plastics produced are for the purpose of packaging, which, as you know, is to get a product from one place to another. That and less than 10%, about 8% of all plastics are actually recycled. Most of it is incinerated or ends up in landfills or out in the environment. Back, please. Thanks. On top of that, plastics do not biodegrade in the environment. They actually break down into smaller and smaller pieces known as microplastics. Those microplastics are absorbed into the food web, and they contain chemicals which end up in our own food supply and our own bodies, and there are recent studies that show that. So all that, the therefore section of the law, the purpose is to reduce consumer use of single-use plastics and encourage the use of more sustainable, biodegradable materials for the use of packaging. And one hope is, all of this focus on the hemp industry. Well, hemp turns out to be one of the, if not the most sustainable crops that can create fibers. Bamboo's another one. So hopefully that will be a good use for that nascent industry. Next slide. So what does the law do? How's it going to work? It focuses on three main elements. One is single-use carry-out bags. The second is polystyrene foam, which most people know as styrofoam items, food service items. And the third is single-use plastic straws. Next slide. So we're going to look at each one of those. So the first one, probably the one that's going to impact most consumers the most, is this bag ban. And here's what it says. The law prohibits all stores, so that includes grocery stores, food service establishments, and retail stores like your Kohl's, from using or selling or providing even to customers single-use carry-out plastic bags. That also includes bags for deliveries. That's been a big question. Another aspect of the law is for the larger grocery stores, and that's the grocery stores that are larger than, say, the Quick Check size. They also are prohibited from using paper bags. So it's not just plastic in the bigger stores, it's paper and plastic. And as I'll say later, that means consumers really have to bring their own reusable bags or purchase what is defined by DEP as a reusable bag in the store. Next slide. The second element is, I know this is a detailed slide, but there are a lot of exemptions to the plastic bag ban. A lot of people don't understand what carry-out means, and there are some funny things about it. So I have a slide here going through the exemptions. One of the big ones is the produce bags. When you are in the produce aisle and you're getting apples, you put them into the plastic bags. Those bags are still okay. Those are not covered by the bag ban. Same with raw fish and poultry. If they put those into a plastic bag for you, that's not covered under the ban. And there's some other things, newspaper bags, dry cleaning bags, things like that are exempt. Next slide. All right, so the second part of the law focuses on polystyrene foam. And what it says is the same kind of deal. Any establishment or person cannot give food in a styrofoam product, food service product, and cannot sell such a product to go with the food. That law applies to items that are wholly styrofoam or just partially styrofoam. And there are some exemptions to that as well. When you're at the ShopRite and you get some meat on a tray, those are often styrofoam trays. There's an extension of 1 year, so that won't kick in, that ban won't kick in until May of 2024. And some other things like that. Next slide. And the last aspect is single-use plastic straws. This part of the law actually already went into effect back in November, and what it says is that customers have to request a straw. They can't just be given out freely. It's not a ban on straws, but it does prohibit establishments from putting straws out, in dispensers, like one pictured here, where, like in the Quick Check, they used to have them in a bin. That practice is no longer allowed unless it's for paper straws. A couple of exemptions there too. Milkshake straws are exempt. Those are the big fat plastic straws. Those can be provided. And then juice boxes and other such beverages that come with a straw as part of the packaging, that's also exempt. Next. So how will this work in terms of penalties and enforcement? So the DEP, the municipalities, and whatever this means by an entity certified by the County Environmental Health Act, each of those have the authority to enforce the bag ban and the styrofoam law. However, the plastic straw provision is enforced by the Department of Health. And what happens with the enforcement? Well, first there's a warning. Second offense is a $1,000 fine. And third and subsequent offenses are $5,000 fines. So it can be pretty pricey if it's enforced like that. Those fines go back to the municipalities, about 30%, and 70% go to the Clean Communities program, which has also returns to the community through public education. And I know that Pequannock gets those reusable bags and some things like that through that program. Next slide. So what will consumers need to do? As we said, beginning on May 4th, you'll have to bring your own reusable bag to the grocery stores and other stores. For the styrofoam part, if you are given a styrofoam carton, you can ask for them to please put it in a paper carton or in a paper wrapper, if you wish. Also, some people want to take home, doggy bags. If you know you're going to need a doggy bag, please bring your own carton. I know I've been saving up cartons, and I've got a whole stack of them that I can use for that purpose. For the plastic straw law, if you need a straw, ask for one, or try out the paper ones. I've tried a bunch of different paper ones, and I can tell you some of them are garbage, not worth it, and other ones are fine, so it just depends on the quality of the paper straw. Better yet, you can buy one of these reusable type straws. Okay, will it make a difference? Well, based on other places that have enacted similar bag bans, yes, it will make a difference. We have stats from California and some other individual municipalities that show after a bag ban, the amount of, or the number of bags found in storm drains dropped by, well, from, 78% reduction. So that's a huge reduction in those bags in storm drains. And similar reductions seen in the bags that end up in streams and out in the environment. So it should be very effective. And to make sure, as part of this law, there is a group called the Plastics Advisory Council that will be monitoring how the ban has been implemented and measure its impacts. And that's it.
Great.
Do you have any questions? Or
No, thank you. It was very informative. Anybody have questions? No, we're good. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, next, we're going to go into reports from volunteers. If there are any reports or comments from any of the volunteers serving our community, feel free to come to the podium and state your name. Anyone? Yes, okay.
Bob Freeman, 1 Atwood Avenue. So from the Historic Society, we do have this weekend an open house. I hope we'll get a temporary CO. Some inspections are going on this week. And that'll be both at the Martin Berry House and also at the Township Museum. We'll be open on Sunday from 10 to 4 for free tours.
Great. Thank you.
Did you say 10 to 4?
Yes, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
This, what, Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday.
Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for reports from volunteers? Okay. At this time, we'll go into public comments. This public comment period will be limited to a total of 30 minutes. An additional period for public comment is reserved later in the meeting. Individuals are requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized and come to the microphone and provide your name and address for the record. Anyone? Okay. All right, since we have nothing for public comment, we will go right into the public hearing for the 2022 municipal budget. Before we open the hearing, there are several actions to be taken, and I'm going to ask Mr. Brewer to, if you'd like to make any comments.
Sure. And if everybody wants to escape,
Thank you.
now's not a bad time.
Yeah, now would be a good time to escape if you want to escape.
Within the council's packet and on the agenda for the council's consideration are 3 resolutions. The first is to amend the introduced budget, and the reason there's an amendment required, the township submitted the budget to the state of New Jersey for review. The state came back and identified that there was a Dial-A-Ride grant, which was $3,011 greater than it had been in the introduced budget, and they asked us to consider an amendment to increase it to that amount. No additional notice is required, so that can be held tonight without any additional issues. The state also required the cancellation of a component of the reserve for tax appeals. The resolution reads a little bit like the entire reserve is getting canceled, but it's really just the amount identified, which is being brought into the budget as a revenue. And then 2022-96 is a resolution to read the budget by title, which again is one of those interesting things required by the state of New Jersey, so we don't have to sit here and read the entire budget line by line. That said, those are the three resolutions in anticipation of the public hearing on the budget. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Anyone have questions?
No?
Okay, moving along, I'm going to ask Ms. Marsh to read the resolutions one at a time. So can you read the budget?
Wait, Melissa.
What? Oh, I'm sorry.
And if, provided the mayor and council don't mind, this is Raymond Sarinelli from Nisavachi and Company. He's a partner at Nisavachi and Company who is assigned the Township of Pequannock's account. Mr. Sarinelli?
Everything is perfect. You just have to change the order a little bit.
Okay.
You have to have a hearing on the budget as it was introduced.
Okay.
That what was advertised to the public, you hold a hearing on that. Then a hearing on the amendment. Then the resolution to amend the budget, hearing on that. Then 2295, 2296, and a vote on the amended budget. So,
Hearing first.
hearing first
Okay.
on the budget as introduced.
Mr. Sarinelli has already provided his work.
Mr. Sarinelli, while you're there.
Told me I had nothing to do. I'm happy I was able to contribute.
Touche.
You need to state your name and address for the record.
Actually, I have a question. Do we need to read the amendment in its entirety?
No,
No, okay,
you can read that by title also,
okay, thank you.
since it was
That would be really painful.
very nicely described already, yeah.
All right, so we're going to open up the
Public hearing on
Public
the
hearing.
budget as introduced.
I'll make that motion to open the public hearing as the budget was introduced.
Can I have a
I'll
second?
second.
Okay. And now, I guess we go right into
Anybody from the
public
public?
hearing.
Anybody from the public
Any-
wishes to be here?
Does anyone want to address the public on this? Oh, okay, Frank, here you go.
Frank Spizzeri, 35 West Franklin Avenue, also the vice chair for the Open Space Committee. I have an exhibit here, number 6. It's the calculation of the reserve for uncollected taxes. It was page 21 that I printed. And I asked this question before, but maybe Mr. Brewer or Julie can answer this. Under municipal open space, in 2021, it was .007. And now in 2022, it's .006. Is that a typo, or was it always 6?
It was always 6, it's a rounding issue.
Okay, so that'll have to be changed.
It's essentially the same. It happens when the tax rate is rounded by the Morris County Tax Board. You can't collect less, so when the rate that's struck by the municipality goes to the Morris County Tax Board, you have to round up a penny, otherwise you collect too little, and that's no good. So
But
they
we didn't round up, we rounded down.
It's always been 0.6 per hundred for the Township of Pequannock, but for the purposes of the last year, it was rounded up when the rate was struck.
Okay.
So we got a little extra.
That also ticks me off in plain English. And I've said this before to other members of the council, but when this was originally started, it was voted on by the township, by the people in the town, to have a certain amount of money put aside for open space, recreation, and whatever else it has to be, historic. And it seems as though in the last, I would say 5 years, that the councils seem to think, well, we can just take open space money because they're not using it. Well, I started in 2005, up to 2012, and we had about $1.2 million in the account when I started. Okay? We bought 42 houses. And if we didn't have that money in that account to go to Green Acres or Morris County or even FEMA, we wouldn't have been able to buy those houses because we didn't have the money. And I'm sure you wouldn't have taken it out of the general fund to do that. we collected from those people, from Morris County, Green Acres, and FEMA, almost $10 million to accomplish what we did with those houses. I think you guys got to think about it. Whether I do it or the next guy that comes along and says, hey, we want to buy some properties, you got to have the money in the account. And I know you say there's $500,000 in there, but there should be more money in here. It should be 1 penny for $100. And I don't know why you guys keep playing around with that. It's, as far as I'm concerned, not to be played with, because the voters in this town said, do it. So keep that in mind.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Come on up, Hank.
Henry Samick, Pharmacy Court, Pequannock Township. My question is this. When our town was set back on getting any funding from the federal government, they provided the Stimulus Act of 2021, and there was money put in there for municipalities, there was money put in there for residents, businesses. Now, we had to spend our surplus money, we had to spend our emergency funding to make up for the money that we didn't have. Now, is any of this money that was provided by the stimulus included in the budget?
Yes.
You know exactly how much?
Yes, it's the subject of an ordinance to be introduced later this evening.
I mean, is there a figure?
Sure. Township Council received, or the Township of Pequannock received 1.5-ish million, rounding to round numbers. Half of it was distributed in 2021. The other half of it is promised, and we believe it will actually arrive in 2022.
Oh, it's promised, but we haven't received it yet.
Correct. It is not cash on hand and, two in hand, one in the bush, one in...
So what happens when this money is received?
So half of the money's been received. Half of the money we have...
I mean, the other
is
half.
cash on hand. The other half is supposed to arrive sometime in June.
But are we going to be credited for that in terms of taxes?
No.
No?
It specifically prohibits its use for property tax relief.
Right now, in the last 2 years prior, businesses were taxed pretty heavily in terms of paying their taxes to the Township of Pequannock. The residents, of course, weren't taxed too heavily. My question is this. From what I understand, from what I was told a while back, that the residents were going to bear a greater portion of the tax burden, where the businesses that were paying the bigger tax burden, their taxes are going to be reduced. Is that so?
I'm not sure where you would have heard that, but I don't know how that would have worked.
I heard it.
Okay. I know I didn't say it.
No, I know you didn't say it, no. I heard it from a prior council person.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering if that's true.
I can't comment on what somebody else may or may not have said. All I can tell you is that's not in the current plan, and it's not a component of this budget.
I see. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Anyone else on the budget? No? All right, is there a motion to close the public hearing on the introduced 2022 municipal budget?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Tracy?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Florence Lynch?
Yes. Okay, so now we're going to do back to where we were before, I guess, right? We have to take the resolutions one at a time?
Yes. Back
Okay.
to R2294.
Okay, so...
Amend the introduced budget, yes?
And we'll go through those one by one. I'll ask Ms. Marsh to read through the budget amendment. Is that how?
I can read it by title, I just found.
Well, so I wasn't sure if you had to read it or if I can just...
I'll read it. This is Resolution R 2022-94 to amend the introduced budget.
All right, is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
I'll make-
We're still doing something wrong.
No, you're good. You're doing it
Oh.
right. You just have to have a hearing on the amendment. So you can introduce,
Okay.
or you can have a motion for it, but you have to have a hearing before you take the vote.
Okay, so now for So after each one, we have to do that?
No, just this one.
All right. Okay.
I'll make a motion.
So
You're
let's
welcome to
open-
stay at the microphone.
Yeah, really, I'm sorry, we kind of messed up.
Up, down, Neil, you can just stay there.
Yeah.
So this is something that most municipalities don't have to do. We've probably
Ever.
never done it before, so
Right, yeah.
that's
No, thank you for the
part of the
guidance.
reason why I'm here, so yes.
I'll make a motion to open the hearing on the...
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All right.
Just stay.
Well, can we just do all in favor, or you have to do roll call on that?
I would recommend a roll call.
Roll call?
Mr. Dracy?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Yes. All right, anyone for the public hearing portion of this amended?
And again, just to clarify, it's to increase the appropriations by $3,011 with an offsetting receipt of revenue because of a dial-a-ride grant.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to close it.
Can I
I'll
have a-
second.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Dracy?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Florence Lynch?
Yes. Okay. Can I now go into, now just jump to 95, all right. Okay, so R 2022-95, authorizing the cancellation of the reserve for tax appeals, reserve account. Can we go right into adopting? All right. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution R 2022-95.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Dracy?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Florence Lynch?
Yes. Okay, and R 2022-96, to read the budget by title.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget, R 2022-96.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mr. Dracy?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Florence Lynch?
Yes.
That was painful.
Yeah, right?
Thank you, Mr. Serenelli.
Right now,
Wait,
go ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead.
So now we can go right into adoption. Okay. Next on the item is the adoption now of the 2022 municipal budget. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Brewer?
I can't miss an opportunity.
Okay.
As I said during a more lengthy presentation on March 22nd, many hands make light work. And there's a significant amount of effort which initiates in September and goes all the way until now, so this is a big process, it's a big deal. I thank the staff that was involved, I thank the council, I thank the volunteers, especially Julie Kupelik, the Chief Financial Officer who's sitting there, Mr. Serenelli, who's often behind the scenes but has valuable input as we've seen this evening. And again, I just want to trumpet the budget, which is roughly $25 million in total general appropriations. It's a 1.95% increase in the municipal tax levy, which equates to roughly $39 on the average assessed house, which has a corresponding value of $378,000. So once again, as I presented the big pie chart, that is only 25 cents on the tax dollar. So when you get your tax bill, don't go crazy if you have the average assessed house and it went more than $39. We only represent 25% of every dollar that is collected. But, keeping the level of service the same, managing the ever-increasing costs, the impacts of inflation, human capital, and everything else, it's a phenomenal budget, and I'm proud of the team for putting it forth for the council's consideration.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you. Are there any comments from council? Right?
I'm very proud of all the work we did on the budget. I'm proud that we were able to keep our level of service, and very happy we're finally going to be redoing the tennis courts because it's something that I wanted for a very long time.
Frank wants you to talk louder.
Frank, did you have your sign up? Okay, sorry. And I'm very excited about resurfacing the tennis courts at Greenview and adding pickleball and trying to really go back to taking care of what we have, fixing some of our infrastructure that was kind of worn down, and I think we're really doing a great job, thanks to Adam and Julie and Ray. So, we've got PV Park looking good. We're on top of that. We've got so I'm very proud of the direction that the town has gone.
Absolutely.
Ditto.
Ditto. Anyone else? Okay. Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2022-97, adopting the 2022 municipal budget?
I'll make a motion to adopt R 2022-97.
A second?
Okay,
Do we have to say with R 2022-94 through 96 amendments?
no.
All right, then.
You're good.
It's been amended.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Dracy?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yep.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Florence Lynch?
Yes.
We have a budget.
Great, got through the budget.
Now to the manager.
Good job. Next on the agenda is our manager's report. Mr. Brewer?
Thank you, Mayor. First, thanks for everybody coming out. I appreciate the Flood Committee's efforts on behalf of Mr. Holberg. As someone who knew Mr. Holberg before I had the opportunity to succeed him, many of his colleagues and friends thought he was utterly crazy and did things that no one would fathom doing and were inconsistent with common sense, and sometimes we thought he was a downright lunatic. But it paid off in spades, and it was cutting-edge stuff that people weren't doing, and it created something that provided opportunities that otherwise probably wouldn't have happened if it weren't for someone like Dave coming up with it. So everything they said and more, he's someone that we all looked up to in terms of doing some of that creative stuff. So, congratulations. We think of him daily, if not more often, which I'm sure is nothing compared to all of you. He was a loss for everybody, but nobody more than Dave. So I appreciate you taking the time, and it was really kind of the Flood Committee, and I just wanted to mention that on behalf of my office, again, knowing Dave for a long time before I even came to Pequannock Township. Moving on to the items identified in my memo, we did have a question from a prior meeting regarding the Shade Tree Commission. Mr. Oostdyke provided an answer to that, which is summarized in the memo. I don't need to talk for Mr. Oostdyke. He's here. If there's any questions, please feel to address it. It simply put, it can be increased from 5 to 7 regular members with 2 alternates. The NYS&W Rail Trail, it's actually happening. It is actually, I sat in a pre-construction meeting that included contractors, state representatives, federal representatives, county park commission representatives. The notice to proceed was originally anticipated to be issued last week, but there has to be a study on the Indiana bat.
This is New Jersey.
So, on or about the 15th of May, there will be a study initiated on the Indiana bat, which will take anywhere from 3 days to 2 weeks. At the conclusion of that, it's expected that any action will need to be taken, and then a notice to proceed will be issued for the contractor. Contract does have liquidated damages, which means if they take too long, they lose money, and the contract duration is expected to be a little under 2 years. So, after 30-ish years of talking about it, we're going to start to see construction. The county has requested control, for lack of a more eloquent description, of the dissemination of public information, so there'll be a press release that will be added to the township's website. I did make specific requests of the contractor and the county in terms of notifying the residents who are impacted, because unfortunately the easements or the encroachments that were cured 3 years ago were cured 3 years ago. And if mine was one of the encroachments and it was 3 years, I might think it's never actually happening and put whatever back where it was. So I did make specific requests regarding notice, but very exciting thing for the township of Pequannock, neat thing for kind of the spine for town going north and south. For anybody who's not familiar, it's a path that will go from Riverdale all the way to Mountain View in Wayne, and it'll be a neat thing to be what I'll think of as the principal host of. So it is in fact happening, and as soon as they have the information to release, I'll put it up on the website. But I would expect the contract to begin running in June of this year. Municipal budget and financial management actions, we covered a lot of it, though awkwardly. I apologize for that. In addition to that, later this evening for the council's consideration, we have the ordinances, general capital, as well as to appropriate the ARPA funds. Those are all consistent with that this time of year. We also have 3 resolutions for Chapter 195s. Which this is an example of 3 additions to the budget. Why would you do additions to the budget when you've just adopted the budget? And why didn't you amend it to include these? Great questions. Because they're of an amount, it would have required kicking the public notice even further down and slowed us down. So in an effort to be the most expeditious bureaucrats possible, we adopted the budget. We amended the budget, we adopted the budget, and now we're going to add things to the budget. But I'm very proud that, the amount of money in the grants total $400,000 for Hillview guardrail, $80,000 for a paving project, and around $30,000 for $23,000, excuse me, for documents associated with renovations to the train station, the railroad station, for which next year we'll be submitting for a construction grant. So all good things when we do projects in Pequannock Township with somebody else's money. We like to bring back your tax dollars to our community. Lastly, we have, for several meetings, been discussing an ordinance to vacate the lane. Mr. Uste can amplify this, but it's my understanding that all parties who had concerns previously have resolved those concerns. There are no further objections, and if the council sees fit, it is free to adopt the ordinance as drafted. That's my report, unless there's any questions.
Great job, and great job on the grants, because I know that's...
Staff, again, team, big team.
Yep.
Good job.
All right, anyone else have questions before we move on? Okay. We'll move to, next on the agenda is public hearings. This is, oh, wait.
I apologize.
Yes.
And one thing just to note, in an effort to have necessary notice, the salary ordinance, no action can be taken on it this evening. It does not need to be carried. Notice has been provided for a public hearing and potential adoption on May 10th.
Okay.
So apologize for any inconvenience there. We wanted to keep it on the agenda so people were aware of it, but no action.
So we're going to do a continuation now of the public hearing on ordinance number 2022-05. Ms. Marsh?
Ordinance number 2022-05 is no...
I'm sorry, it's 20...
I messed up here.
Yeah, there's a typo there. Is it 15 or 5?
No,
5.
let me read it, I'm good.
Yep.
Just give me a second.
That's right.
Ordinance 2022-05 is an ordinance to vacate any remaining public rights in a right-of-way known as the Lane in the Township of Pequannock. This meeting, the hearing was opened on the March 22nd, 2022 Township Council meeting and was carried to the April 12th meeting and then to this evening.
Okay, Mr. Brewer or Mr. Osteich, do you have any comments on this?
No, this is simply the ordinance that we've been through, I guess, talked about several times to vacate. The lane is a public right-of-way that has generally not been used for public purposes. It has been vacated in part over the years, and this will be the final step in vacating that, and it's recommended by our township engineer, and we recommend moving on it tonight. We held it up a little bit to allow some details to be worked out, but at this time it's ready for adoption.
Right, if anyone in the audience has questions or comments on this ordinance, please come to the microphone and identify yourself for the record. Anyone? Okay. Is there a motion? Well, I guess that's the public.
We're going to close it.
Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Make that motion.
Second?
Is that Mr. Hurd?
Yes, Mr. Herder, Mr.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Right, is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
I'll make the motion to adopt ordinance number 2022-05.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Dracy?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Florence Lynch?
Yes. Okay, and since the public hearing on ordinance 2022-06 will be held at the next meeting, correct? The next item on the agenda is the introduction of ordinances. So we're going to skip over that and go to the introduction of ordinances. Ms. Marsh, would you like to read that?
Ordinance number 2022-07, is an ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Township of Pequannock in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, and appropriating the sum of $995,602 for financing thereof.
Okay, Mr. Brewer, any comments on this?
The ordinance has been very consistent with the budget discussion throughout the budget process and includes the issuance of no debt. This is purely funded through cash.
Great. Great job. Any comments from council?
Nope.
Is there a motion to introduce this ordinance on first reading?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
And roll call, please.
Mr. Dracy?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Florence Lynch?
Yes. And the next on the agenda is the intro of ordinance number 2022-08. Ms. Marsh?
Ordinance number 2022-08 is an ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Township of Pequannock Water Utility in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, and appropriating the sum of $45,000 for financing thereof.
Okay, Mr. Brewer, any comments on this one?
Second verse, very similar to the first, except it's through the water utility, and again, is consistent with the capital plan and includes the issuance of notes.
Okay, great job. Any comments? No. Is there a motion to introduce this ordinance on first reading?
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Dreesy?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Florence Lynch?
Yes. Okay, and next on the agenda is introduction of ordinance number 2022-09. Ms. Marsh?
Ordinance 2022-09 is an ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Township of Pequannock in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, and appropriating the sum of $325,000 for financing thereof.
Okay, Mr. Brewer, any comments on this one?
This is the appropriation of the funds, or a portion of the funds that were received as a result of the American Rescue Plan. As there was a question earlier this evening, I'll quickly list what is appropriated through this ordinance. Total amount is $325,000, $14,000 for the purchase of fire department equipment, including but not limited to hose and SCBA replacements. $165,000 towards the upgrades to municipal parks, including but not limited to resurfacing of Greenview tennis courts, PV Park grills, and Washington Park fencing, and $146,000 towards police and dispatch equipment, including but not limited to ALPR replacements and the 911 console PSAP replacement.
Okay, great job. Any comments from council? Okay. Is there a motion to introduce this ordinance on first reading?
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number 2022-09.
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Dreesy?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Florence Lynch?
Yes. Okay, moving along. Great job on that. Next item on the agenda is resolutions. Ms. Marsh, I'm going to ask you to read resolutions by title.
Resolution R 2022-98, providing for the insertion of a special item of revenue in the 2022 budget pursuant to NJSA 40A:487, which is for Hillview Guide Rails. 2022-99, providing for the insertion of a special item of revenue in the 2022 budget pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-87, which is for railroad documents. 2022-100, providing for the insertion of a special item of revenue in the 2022 budget pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-87, and that's for Mead Place. And R 2022-101, approving the designated special event permit application for the Holy Spirit Carnival. 2022-102, authorizing the release of refundable permit bonds. And 2022-103, approving payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the April 21st, 2022 bill list and 2018 FEMA elevation escrow list.
Okay, great. Are there any comments on the resolutions from any council members?
Yeah, could you just explain 2022-98, the guardrails? Is this where we're getting the money, we have to realize it, but then we're going to pay it out?
There was previously a grant for aid written to replace the guide rail on Hillview or Beaverbrook Road, if you want to use the Lincoln Park name. And when we went to do the project, we realized it was insufficient, so we got another $150,000 for a total of $400,000 for the project.
Okay.
We're doing this with Lincoln Park.
Gotcha.
Concert.
So that's that rail over there.
Correct.
Airport, right? Okay.
And the reason it's so expensive is because there's so many terminating and beginning ends. It's basically a whole bunch of little guardrails as opposed to one big long one.
Right.
But this is the revenue realized from the grant?
That's fully grant money.
Okay.
100%.
All right, anyone else? All right, is there a motion to adopt these resolutions?
Make a motion to adopt Resolution R 2022-98 through R 2022-103.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Dreesy?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Florence Lynch?
Yes. All right, there's no discussion items tonight, and no reports or notices this evening. So we can go right into council reports and announcements. Councilman DeRisi.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple things we talked about already is the budget passed, yay. I'm really liking the word grant, so let's hopefully hear that a lot more. Thank you to the Flood Committee for making that presentation for Mr. Holberg. That was very nice, and the plaque's going to be nice in the OEM room. The Shade Tree Committee did have a meeting last night. Not much was talked about. I think the Open Space Committee is working on doing something at Foothills Park. Environmental Commission. Sorry. So they're Chairman Newman. Yep. They're working. We discussed that a little bit last night. So they're going to get back to you. I don't know what they're going to say yet, but be prepared. And then also the Shade Tree Committee is having a sapling giveaway Saturday morning right in front of Town Hall. And this is what you're going to get. It doesn't look the prettiest, but it will. So, Mayor, this is for you.
That's great. That's what I want.
Please have already planted in your front yard.
Do you know what kind of tree that is?
It is a walnut tree, and I'm not sure what kind because I'm not a tree guy, but Mr. Ringen explained it to me. I just didn't. Okay. So they're going to be handing those out Saturday morning. If you want, come on, get a couple and plant them. It'll be very good. Do want to mention the open house. I believe Mr. Friedman mentioned that already. The train station in the Martin Burberry House this Sunday. Most of us had the privilege of walking in the Little League Parade on Saturday, which was very nice. And it was really nice to see Passaic County Sheriff here with a couple horses, except we were walking right behind him. So it was a good place for me.
We had to dodge a few bullets,
yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
But like I said, it was organic, so it was good. It was good. But the highlight of the morning definitely was a young lady from a softball team sang the national anthem.
Yeah, she did great.
It was absolutely awesome. I know her name. I'm not going to say it. I don't have permission to say it, but I'm just going to say that she sung the national anthem, and it was very, very nice. So congratulations to her. She's got a great voice. Another thing is it's nice for springtime and getting warm out. You see a lot of kids outside. Just parents, please talk to your kids about riding bikes. They're like all over the place. Try to stay on the side of the road. Don't cross the road without looking, so people in cars are dodging them. So just please be careful with that. And then my big thank you this meeting is for all the school crossing guards. Imagine being a crossing guard walking out in the middle of traffic with a stop sign. And people actually stop. So I just got to, you don't think about them all the time, but you just have to have a lot of respect for them doing that job. So thank you to the school crossing guards out there. You're doing a great job by keeping our kids safe going to and from school, so thank you. And I think that's it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Great, good job. All right, Councilman Hurd.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to echo what everybody said about Mr. Holberg and the Flood Committee. I mean, we're talking years and years and years of hard work, of doing our best to keep our residents out of harm's way, and it wasn't easy. And, we can't stop it from raining. There's a lot of things we can't do where our hands are tied. With that said, we found the best possible way, which is FEMA elevations, and I believe to date we're over $16 million of FEMA money for elevation of houses, which is incredible. So I applaud all the work that the Flood Committee has done over the last, 10, 12 plus years. It's been a long road. Glad to see it happen. Quick question, this is really for Adam. Email that we got about a commercial property. My question really was about, I took a look, and how do we deal with abandoned cars? Is that something that's a responsibility of the property owner?
On public property, it can be addressed by the police department. On private property, it becomes a zoning issue.
Okay. I thought there was something, we had something about non-tagged or non-registered cars, whether it's that or whether it's a totally abandoned car, it still is the same thing.
Correct.
Okay.
The challenge is the complaint you're referencing crossed over from health code to zoning code. It crossed a lot of issues, but all appropriate officials were advised of it and conducted.
Well, my biggest concern was the car. How do we deal with that? Thank you. Opening day parade was awesome. I mean, it was nice out, it was packed, it was nice to see all the kids. The kids were so excited to be back on Washington Park 1, and it was a great day. It was awesome being able to walk down the center of the road. It's great for the kids, they love it. It's something that, we got to keep doing, absolutely. And of course, I'm still getting used to my oldest guy playing at 8 o'clock at night. I don't know how you guys all did that. Starting at 7:45, not being done until 10. I mean, it's brutal. Other good news, Pequannock Marching Band is getting ready for Busch Gardens, Virginia. They'll be down there from May 19th through the 21st, so they are practicing. You might have seen them out in the field. They will be marching. They will also be marching in our Memorial Day Parade, so I'm very excited about that. They sound awesome. They look even better, so that's going to be really cool. I don't have any meetings between the last meetings, so I don't have anything to report there. But what I do want to say is congratulations to Elon Musk for buying Twitter. I mean, I really believe that free speech is very important, and we cannot let democracy die in darkness. And I know we spoke about the Governor DeSantis thing, and he passed the Parental Rights in Education bill. I don't really want to talk about that. I did notice that it has been introduced in many states, and actually in New Jersey, Monmouth County is calling for, I guess, a version of this for Parents' Rights, Bill of Rights in light of disturbing New Jersey sex education standards. It's very interesting. I've heard Morris County is also interested in doing this. It's all about stopping SEL and CRT. So it'd be very interesting to see how this parlays into Morris County. And that's all I have.
Great.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Moving on, Councilman Cole.
Yep, and ditto for the Flood Committee on honoring Dave. Dave was, as the township manager mentioned, he was a great guy. He definitely thought outside the box, and he was very well respected within his peers. I had the privilege of accompanying him on a Saturday down to South Jersey. He was monitoring a class, and I had to sit in on it for some reason. Don't ask me why I had to sit in on it. He gave me a good excuse at the time, but I went with him, and I tell you, everyone that was there just respected Dave with the utmost respect. So, it was way over my head what they were talking about. So, but thanks for honoring him. Unfortunately, I'll be away this weekend, and I'll miss the Martin Berry House and the train station tour. Like I said at the Little League meeting, at the Little League parade, I was honored to be able to speak in Melissa's absence. Most important thing is, you know what? Have fun. For the coaches, for the parents, for the players, because I played there as a kid, I coached there as a parent for my two boys. It goes quick. So just enjoy it while you can, and that's all I have to say. Best of luck to all the players, softball players, baseball players, coaches, but just have fun. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. I want to echo what everyone else said, and I want to thank the Flood Committee for the... Oh, I forgot. Why do I always do that?
She always forgets me. I don't know why. We're going to have to look into that.
Let's go.
I think there's something nefarious going on.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Russell. Sorry, let's go. Sorry about that.
Did she just, okay, what's her face over there? You can talk now.
I heard it. I'll back you up
Okay,
on
so
it.
I'm sorry.
Library met last Wednesday. Friends of the Library's mini golf was a success. Big thanks to Councilman Dave Cole, who was there. They meet again on May 18th. Environmental Club plastic bag law goes into effect May 4th. Tom, the Environmental Club will be handing out bags at ShopRite and Stop and Shop. Sorry, Environmental Commission.
We have not obtained permission for the ShopRite. We have obtained permission for Stop.
So Stop and Shop. And Quick Check or no?
We have not obtained permission for Quick Check.
Okay, so if you need a bag, go to Stop and Shop.
I'll be there.
They'll be there on May 4th, which was a great idea because a lot of people are going to go. Like, how many of us? We see the sign on May 4th. We're all going to go with no bags. I know I am, except I'm going to write
May the
myself
4th be with you.
I know, that's what we were talking about. Little League Parade, like everybody said, I won't go into that. It was great. What everybody failed to mention, however, is Tom Lyons threw out the first pitch, and he threw a strike. So So kudos to Tom Lyons. Also, I want to give a shout out to Pequannock's former PTS, Kevin Chesney. He was just named trumpet section leader for JMU Marching Royal Dukes.
Yeah.
So that's huge. Good job, Kevin. Last thing. Mr. Samick had mentioned before about the small businesses. There is a county small business grant. I've been going to the small businesses almost door to door, and a lot of people, they've never heard of it, or they don't have time, or they're not doing it. You are getting a grant, which is free money. You don't have to pay it back, for up to $15,000. It can cover your rent. It can cover any items that you needed. It's to help with the recovery. So if you showed a loss from 19 and 20, and then what you used after a date, and you show them the receipts, and they have a form, if anybody needs, if you Google Morris County Small Business Grant, it will come up. If you email me, I will send you the link directly. If you contact me, I can give it to you right away. But there's money in here. The county commissioners put $10 million in it, and I know there's still money, and once the money's gone, it's done. So if you have a friend, or you have a small business, no matter what it is, whether it's home-based or you have a shop, you need to apply for this grant. It's well worth your time. If you spend an hour and you get $1,000, that's $1,000 an hour is what you're making, so it's well worth it. So I really will encourage everybody to do that. It's on our site, it's on the county site, and I'm amazed that a lot of people just don't know about it, so tell everybody.
From what I heard, that if they gave every application, they still had like half of the money left.
Yeah, because people either aren't doing it. I can't tell you how many people I said I gave it to, and then I saw them a week later, no names, did you do it? And they went, not yet, but I'm kind of out. But, don't wait till everybody all of a sudden does it and then the money's gone, because this is money for the taking that could help you even if there's another slowdown, and like I said, it's money.
And everybody's afraid that it's like too much paperwork. It's really not.
It's not a lot of paperwork. It's probably everything you already have on file from when, if you got PPP, if you got any other grants or got anything. And they're very good with if you don't do it right and they need something else, they will contact you back and say, we need to see receipts from this and this. Or I've even heard of some people, they've said, oh, did you include this? Did you use this? So it's definitely something to look into. So I really want to encourage everybody to do that. Okay, now I'm done.
Okay, sorry I almost passed you up.
Second time in a row.
And thank you for bringing up the small business grant, because that is something that's free money and it's not hard to do. So I hope a lot of people will take advantage of that. I know the Chamber of Commerce has really been trying to push that out as well. But if anyone has questions, call any of us. I just wanted to echo what everyone said about the presentation for honoring your dad, your brother. Dave Holberg was a very special person, as we all know, and like everyone said, I worked with him for 12 years, and just what evolved over those 12 years that I had worked with him here. There was a lot of back and forth, and once everyone, got on board, he just forged ahead and he made things happen, and he was a very special person. Congratulations for the budget. Great job to Adam and the whole team. What else? Thank you, Tom, for coming tonight and giving your presentation. Little League Parade. In 12 years on council, this was the first year I missed the Little League Parade. I had a wedding this weekend. I was tied up all the way from Thursday to Sunday, and so I missed it. But you guys had a beautiful day. I heard we haven't had a parade in 3 years. Tom Lyons, I was going to mention, the Little League directors were trying to figure out who we're going to get to throw out the first pitch, and they thought Tom Lyons would be great. He's the chief of the first aid, chief of the first aid squad, has done so much for the community, so that was a great choice. And then they also had a representative from the championship women's softball that threw out the pitch, right? The softball. So they had... One of the coaches. One of the coaches did it?
Coaches
Yeah.
from
So that was great as well, so I'm sorry I missed that. As was mentioned, Memorial Day Parade is coming up. Again, it should be a great, great day. I know a lot of people are excited about the Memorial Day Parade. If you are an organization that, wants to get involved and did not get a letter, you can reach out to the American Legion. Dennis Papara, if I'm saying his name right, is in charge of that. So the more the merrier. What else do we have? Other than that, everything was mentioned about the Flood Committee, Economic Development. My Economic Development Committee is meeting tomorrow night at 7 o'clock here in this room. Other than that, I don't have anything else. And so thank you all for coming. Next on the agenda, we're going to go into public comment. If anyone wishes to address the council, wait to be recognized, come to the microphone and provide your name and address for the record. Anyone? No? Okay, moving along. We don't have any minutes tonight for approval, and there's no closed session, right? Okay. There being no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Can I have a
I'll
second?
second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, meeting adjourned at 8:10.
What time?